Yeah, Malaysia is Asia's fastest growing economy, but it's also sustained growth. It's been growing at around between 5 and 6% a year over the last decade. I would say the country is attractive also because it has a relatively small population, around 25 million. 60% of the population, I think, is under the age of 30, and something like a third of the population is under 15. So it's a very dynamic environment. In this sense, it's also important to bear in mind the country's commitment to education. This is a country that's invested very heavily in tertiary education and in training and skills training. So it's not just that it has a young, growing population, but it's one that's very well trained and adaptable to the needs of incoming investors. In many ways, Malaysia and some of its neighbours have a head start in having implemented the type of structural reforms that other countries are only just getting around to now. It's a country with a diversified economic base. 50% almost of the economy now is services, but it still has substantial raw materials that's able to export and also to add value to as well. Medical tourism and health is a fast growing and potentially very strong sector for the Malaysian economy. Initially it's become popular with people from the region. Its healthcare standards compared to its neighbours are much higher and at a lower cost. For Europeans and people from North America, it's beginning to attract growing numbers of people because essentially the cost of treatment is less than half that it would be in Europe or the United States, and it provides people an opportunity to have a holiday at the same time. So there's a lot of growth in the private sector in healthcare services. As regards Islamic finance, yes, there's still a question of perception, I think, among some organisations in the West, but Malaysia is fast becoming a hub for Islamic financing, and it should be remembered that Malaysia can, to some extent, thank some of its stricter banking regulations, which are due to the principles of Islamic banking, for having protected it to a large extent from the financial mess that other countries have gotten into over the last few years. The economic transformation program is a very bold and very ambitious initiative. It aims to transform the economy of Malaysia. The goal is to go from being a middle income country, which is no small achievement to have gotten there over the last 20 years, to take Malaysia to become Asia's first high level income country. This will see the creation of, it's going to boost already existing initiatives like the economic corridors. The 5 economic corridors throughout Malaysia will be reinforced through this. It will see the setting up of even more special export zones. And what's interesting about it particularly is that it's a public-private initiative that has seen a lot of involvement from private sector companies working with the government to create the best ways to add value to raw materials and to work at a local and a smaller scale with smaller enterprises as well. Yeah, Malaysia, I think, has benefited from the presence of these 3 large communities, the Indian, the Chinese and the ethnic Malays themselves, and they seem to work very well together, and the country has avoided the sort of ethnic tensions that other countries in the region have seen. So I think that one bears in mind that China and India are 2 members of the BRICS association of emerging economies. I think that says a lot about the strength and the dynamism of the Malaysian economy.
For more videos, please visit www.voicesofmalaysia.com.